Yes. It's Zoom, Zoom.us. nobody's here yet. Henry, I don't know if everybody feels like that. I clone.
Oh, there we go. Justin
I
Dowd.
clone.
Oh no, I see. Kevin Clark. That's weird. Wonder why
Because
that.
I think the links are unique.
Ah, yeah.
So
Wonder who
welcome,
that's
Kevin.
wonder who this is over here. Oh, that's Amanda.
There you go. You've got Travis up now.
Anne
Your
Marie.
hair's looking much better than mine.
Yeah, I went really short.
It looks
But
good.
I need to work on the beard today. It's getting out of hand.
I look more and more like my dog every day.
That's not true, Kevin. No,
Oh, yes, it is.
so. Just remind me before the next pandemic, bangs are a bad idea.
Oh, no. If only we had crystal balls, you know?
Uh-huh.
Oh, well.
I was down in Rhino, I guess 5 Points is what I still refer to it as, yesterday, and I hardly saw a patch of green anywhere. I'm so grateful to be back in our little town here.
What was
It's
the
really
climate
pretty.
down there, Travis?
Well, it was pretty. I mean, I was far enough away from the capital in downtown that I didn't see any of that.
Yeah.
The literal climate was like, I don't know, it felt like 95, and just like I felt like I had that kind of like film on my skin from the city. It was so good to get back to this pure air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Born and raised in Denver, and I don't miss it a day.
Right. Yeah.
Unless I want like delivery sushi. Then I'm like, damn.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I actually had that yesterday. Yeah.
Hey, Kyle.
Yes, ma'am.
So my email, my Cooper's email was hacked, and I had sent you an email in that. Frey, did you ever get it?
What was the email about?
About doing my website. I'm ready.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. It was a few months ago, right?
It was like 3 weeks, no, last week.
Oh, no, I did not receive
You
that.
probably didn't. My sent emails went to nowhere, and I didn't know that. And I'm still trying to fix it. So, yeah, so that's separate. But anyway, if you wanted to talk with me after, we're ready.
Okay, great.
Are you outside?
Hi, am I too close?
Oh.
How are you?
You're looking good, Paul.
That's my mom's go-to when I FaceTime with her. Or it'll be like this. She'll be talking to me like this.
Oh,
Oh, it's so sweet. No bow tie today. Not into it.
well, I have some exciting news. We're going to get some windows operating in the hotel probably for the first time in generations.
That's exciting.
I know, fresh air. Oh,
social
yeah,
yeah.
air circulation. So kind of fun, you know, turning back time a little bit today.
Were they just painted shut or what?
Painted shut. Yeah, they're painted shut. And then we have custom storm windows on the whole building. And so we'll put some of those in storage on all the windows that we get open today.
Very
I'm kind of excited about it.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, as you well know, it's a step in a long process.
Oh, God.
So it's a big one though. It's a big step.
Oh, Kevin, turn around your cup.
Oh my gosh, that is the cutest thing ever.
His and his.
We were-
We have lots of floral coffee cups for our female guests. Believe me, we can set you up.
Mm.
Those
I
are
like
dapper.
Florals.
Those are
What's wrong
dapper
with
mugs.
florals?
Mine's just boring gray.
Yeah, I like the mustache. It's very Louis Dupuis.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Why do florals have to be only for girls? I'm confused, Kevin. Because I think that you're gender specifying them.
I am. I'm guilty of that. I'll own it.
Sorry, are we starting? Am I being inappropriate?
We're live on YouTube, but I mean, I don't think we're doing anything outside of our normal inappropriateness.
It is.
Am I a social influencer now because I'm on YouTube? Can I add that to my
Is that what the
LinkedIn?
kids say?
That's what they say.
Hashtag something.
Old guy.
Well, it's Pride Month, so I'm allowed to do that then.
Yeah, happy Pride, everybody.
Yeah.
Happy Pride.
And
What is Denver gonna do for Pride this year?
something virtual.
Are they?
Yeah. I
I
don't
think
know
we're
what. I haven't
concentrating
looked
on
into
other
it.
people's lives right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Justin. How's life at Rose Street?
Hi everyone. Life is good. A lot of
Yeah.
gardening.
A lot of deer
pull-
buffeting.
lot of pulling weeds and deer devastation. Yeah, no, it's good.
Do you use deer spray, Justin?
We do.
Okay.
We use the Bobex.
Yeah. Okay. How often?
I try to get it every time after it rains.
Yeah.
Get
That's
it
us
on there.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know if that
It-
damages roses? By any
Oh, it
chance?
doesn't damage plants at all,
No,
as long
no
as you
plants?
mix it right.
Okay.
Have you had burning?
I don't know. I don't know what burning looks like. We just bought a
Brown.
bunch of roses, and there's a little bit of weirdness on some of the plants. And I don't
Paul, why don't you go down there and take a look?
So if
Paul's
it's too
really great with
strong, it can be
plants.
brown. It can burn your leaves, but you're if it's too strong because it's fish emulsion
Yeah,
and blood and stuff.
I've been
So
doing the mixtures, but I've kind of just been eyeballing the ratios. So maybe it's too
Yeah.
much, but
I don't know. I don't have trouble with it as a rule. I will say that roses, all of them are tricky up here.
yeah,
And also our soil is so, as a rule, can be really alkaline. And so chlorosis is a big problem that I have, and which is iron deficiency,
oh, okay.
because they're not able to pull nutrients as easily. I have that problem with a lot of my plants where they're stinted or they're
Blotchy.
blotchy or
That might be it.
there's some issues. And the other issue at this time of year usually is aphids, and then thrips come later, but that's a whole different thing.
I haven't
And then the
seen any of
locusts
those.
are on the way.
And the
Well, of
murder
course.
hornets.
And those.
The murder hornets.
We're 8 minutes late. Is Steve on? Has anyone seen Steve? I mean, not that I don't love talking about gardening, but I feel like all these fine people didn't join us this morning for gardening tips.
I know he's
Yeah, we-
aware
I
because
thought
I
I
talked to
saw
him
him
last
for a
night.
second, but I don't know what happened to him.
Hmm.
I was just sitting here thinking how funny it is to walk into this conversation with little context and hear talking about iron deficiencies and splotchiness and how Paul should go take a look and help out.
Welcome to Georgetown Business Promotions, George. We're
Very
the
professional here.
yes, a well-oiled machine up here.
We've been told people enjoy our meetings. We have.
We
You know
throw
we
we throw a good public meeting, if I do say so myself.
It's never contentious. Well,
Hmm.
usually.
Jan, you have my vote for best set design.
Where did we lose?
So did anybody else have trouble getting on, or am I doing something wrong?
I had a little trouble. It was a little funky, but then it went through.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My link wouldn't ever work.
Yeah, maybe that's where Steve is.
Yeah, we could be having trouble. I didn't have any deer spray, so I let my kids pee around the porch and it worked.
Yeah, good.
They were really excited. They were like, "Is this a trick, Mom?" I said, "No."
That's like that
Oh,
gardener during the early 90s. Do you remember him? He used to like put pee in a jar and let it steep with hair and stuff.
He was on PBS. This is real. It was on PBS.
It's a real guy. And then he sold his products. Just saying.
I'm horrified. It's too
He
early
was
for that.
horrified. He really did it. He called it.
He
a
would hold the
tea.
jar up even. He'd show it. It
I
was
think
all
he put manure
brown
in
and
it, too.
murky. This is true, folks.
Okay.
Do we have a vice chair who could do this?
Justin's vice chair. I'm texting.
Okay, so Steve said he's trying to get into the meeting.
That link you sent, I mean, the code sent, the ID you sent worked. Send that to me. Kevin, you're not in the beacon of light today.
He said, Steve just
Well, it's
texted me
coming
and said,
in.
"Go ahead and
Yeah,
start."
It's starting, so I'm gonna
Oh,
tilt the camera. Yeah, it's coming.
oh, good. I like it.
There.
Hey,
There we
Jennifer,
go.
did you hear me?
Yeah, yes.
Steve just said, "Go ahead and start."
Okay, I'm just texting him the ID. So yeah, go ahead and start then, you guys. We'll call the meeting to order.
Justin,
Roll call.
Oh,
Amanda
you,
Cooper,
Justin? Here.
Kevin Koharek,
Here.
Kyle Rutten,
Here.
Justin Dowd,
Here.
Jan McCollum,
here.
Paul Boat.
Here.
Okay. Justin, I guess you can go ahead and lead the meeting since
Okay.
Steve's not here.
All right. Cool. First agenda item is agenda approval from last month's meeting.
And- I'd like to add one thing. Oh, never mind. Wrong thing. Sorry.
No, we can do that. Would you like to add an item to our agenda?
To today's agenda.
Yes.
Yes. I want to add a quick HGI report, if I might. If I may.
HGI report?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
This is George. Jennifer or somebody, would you email me a copy of the agenda, please?
Sure.
Justin,
Yes.
one thing that Steve wanted to do, and that's why I invited George to be part of the conversation, or the commissioners, and George is representing the commissioners, is regarding Guanella Pass. Because they had sent a communication to the commissioners regarding Guanella Pass and how it affects Georgetown. And the commissioners did take some action yesterday at their meeting regarding Guanella Pass, as far as the opening at Guanella Pass, and George can probably share more regarding that. And Steve
Okay.
wanted that to be taken care of at the top of the agenda, so.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Anyone else have anything to add for today's meeting?
Can you guys hear me okay? It's Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Okay, yeah, for whatever reason, all links are down and I was able to get on the one Kent just sent me. I don't know what's going on. But one other item to add to the agenda is the Cobra which is the Cobra event for September. I'll fill everyone in if we can add that to the agenda.
All right, are we ready to make a motion to approve the agenda?
Yeah. So Steve, are you back on, or would you like me to continue?
No, Justin, this is actually fun to watch you take control. Go ahead.
All right. Cool. If nobody has anything else to add, does somebody want to make a motion to amend the agenda for today to add the HGI report, a report on Guanella Pass and the Cobra event?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Do we have any audience business today? Cassandra?
Good morning. It's so great to see everybody. And I just wanted to take a minute and let you guys know we're starting a social media campaign to promote the businesses in the county and what everyone's doing to open back up, or if you have opened back up, feature you somehow on social media. We have about 7,000 Facebook followers and then a handful of Instagram and Twitter followers. And so the goal is really just to, push out that the county's opening, and come tomorrow, it sounds like we're going to be pretty well open if everything goes according to plan. So just want to remind you that if you have photos or videos, if you could submit those to me, and then we will arrange them and schedule them on social media just to add some more presence for you guys. And I don't think that there's anything goes. So if you want to talk about history, if you want to talk, about, or show a short video of what's going on, or, making a cocktail, or, brewing a beer, anything goes. We're just really trying to fill the news feed daily with our, restaurants, businesses, attractions. So just wanted to share that with you guys, and let you know we're working on the visitor guide, and it's going to be a little bit late coming out. Usually we have it done by now. And then the new website looks like it's going to roll out about the middle of the month. So lots of exciting things coming amidst this crazy time. So I just want to share that. So Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Is there an email or information that we can get the town to disperse to other business owners that aren't in attendance today?
Sure, I can resend that out to Jennifer and see if maybe it can be included on the Friday email for sure. That'd be awesome.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right. Jennifer, do we want to do the conference call now, since that was scheduled for 8:10, or do we want to try to get George in, do you think?
We're going to do George first, and then we'll, Ann and Liz know that they're going to be rescheduled for later. So we'll text them when we're getting close.
Okay, great. All right. Go ahead, George. I think you have the floor.
Okay. Thank you all for indulging me for a moment. I know Steve had invited me to, I think I'm quoting him fairly directly, explain myself on why Guanella Pass remained closed last weekend. And so I'm happy to do that and answer any other questions or share my perspective about how our tourism economy can move forward. So the Forest Service, and they were asking us not to make it public last weekend, which is why our decision making was not public. We actually just left it to staff to coordinate with, that was public. We left it to staff to coordinate with the U.S. Forest Service. And what the problem was the Forest Service wasn't able to get their bathrooms open yet. Mostly because, like the rest of us, they struggled to get PPE and cleaning supplies given the huge surge in demand for those items. The U.S. Forest Service did not feel that it would be responsible to open those parking lots at the top of Guanella Pass without sanitation. And I gotta say, I agree wholeheartedly with that assessment, knowing that that's Georgetown's water supply. And so the gate remained closed for the weekend. Fortunately, the Forest Service acted fast and found multiple ways to get us open, both in the long term and in the short term this weekend. So for this weekend, they're gonna go up there and clean the existing vault bathrooms to be prepared to open. I think that the opening time is 2 p.m. on Thursday. And then by Monday, the Forest Service is rolling out its sort of midterm plan. For about a month. There will be a number of, I think, 7 porta potties up there. The porta potties are a lot easier to keep clean. And so the contractor will have them up Monday morning or Monday sometime. So Guanella Pass will be open this weekend. And, you know, we hope that that will get you some more customers. I'm curious to hear from you all, whether you felt you had a lot of customers down there over the weekend or not, given that, you know, I mean, one way to look at this is if Guanella Pass turns into a road that everybody has to turn around on, you get them driving through your community twice. And so I don't really know how you all feel about that, and I'm happy to hear your feedback.
Well, this is Steve. I'll give you my opinion. I guess it'd be very hard to know what would be better, having people drive up, find a closed gate, turn around and drive back, versus just driving through all the way. 2 things. Number one, if the gates are closed, you miss the opportunity to have someone come from 285 all the way into Georgetown. Based on the fact that my brewery sits right on the pass, right on Rose Street, and we have windows right to Rose Street, and we watch cars go by all day long for 3 years now. There's a significant amount of traffic that comes from the Grant side to Georgetown, and by the time they get over the pass, they're looking for a place to have a drink, a bite to eat, or to visit the town. I think that's more positive and favorable than anybody driving up, finding a closed gate, driving down, and coming back down very disappointed. Nobody wants to go and drive somewhere and then do a U-turn and drive back, especially when, you know, the pass is beautiful all the way through. So I would, my own personal feeling, and again, it's personal, is I think the gates closed and someone coming back to Georgetown twice is probably, they're not in a good mood, to be honest, because most people that go up are going up to drive all the way through, not and go all the way to Grant, and come all the way from Grant into town. So
I would also add to the, oh, sorry, George, I didn't mean to start. Go ahead, please.
Oh,
I
no,
hate Zoom because I can't
I hear you, and no, I don't really have anything to say, Steve, except that those are some good points, and thanks for helping me understand this a little better.
I think I'd add that the historical data is really difficult to study. I mean, we've kept 4 years of information on Memorial Day weekend, and because we didn't have the borough race, that, you know, I mean, there was other factors that went into the information that we were disseminating to see if, you know, it's impossible to know if Guanella was a direct impact, but I don't think that it helped per se, because I mean, even without the borough race, and obviously we're in a limited capacity situation, we were down 55 to 60% overall over the weekend. We never went on a wait, even with the limited seating capacity that we expected. We had really pretty light reservations, and that could be a couple things. I mean, you can't correlate to the past directly. It could be that people don't want to eat out. It could be that people are still kind of getting you know, going again. It could be that we didn't have a lot for people to do other than come up, but I mean, instead of dwelling on the past that it was closed last weekend, I think the important thing is that you guys opened it so that we can start capturing that and moving forward. We can't change last weekend, and you know, I don't think we can blame the past directly.
Well, Amanda, just to clarify, Memorial Weekend, the borough race, we were to go only. We didn't get to seat people until Tuesday after Memorial Weekend. So unless I'm totally having.
No, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm off on, I have no, it's like February in my mind right now. Is that what date is? No. Yeah, you're right. I'm not talking Memorial Weekend. I'm talking last weekend. I apologize. But either way, historical data didn't lend itself to us being open like normal. It didn't look like last year.
Well, these aren't normal times.
I'm going to add that I don't know that it has anything to do with the past. We're at 15% of normal operations for finance. So we're taking in about 15% of revenues that we did normally, tops. We do get a lot of questions about whether or not the pass is open. The lake's a big one too, but I think that the general tenor of the guest and what they're looking for as far as expenditures and maybe where we are, where we're ready, but we are down 85%. So, but the pass is open this weekend, and I think I agree with Amanda. Just look forward to what's going on in the future and try to pivot to make sure that we're capturing our guests as well as we possibly can, and to figure out how to make people feel comfortable spending money and staying and lingering for a minute.
Yeah, just for to carry on with what the actual business impact is. This past weekend, the brewery itself in Georgetown was probably down versus last year's numbers well over 70%. It should have been a really good, solid weekend for us. And with the capacity constraints and with the pass being closed, we just didn't see it. We had to turn away a lot of tables. We probably turned away about 10 parties. It did rain. We didn't have the indoor capacity, and that was lost revenue on top of the pass revenue. And again, let's not jump to a conclusion that says, well, if the pass is open, we're gonna have to turn away more business. With the pass being open, we would just hope that the visitors would be dispersed amongst the day, so we could have a busy full day versus having, only a couple of peak times during the day where we would have to turn people away. I hope that all made sense.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate hearing these perspectives, and I'm thinking I might try to attend more of these just to listen in. But I don't want to dominate the agenda. I'm sure you guys have other business to do. I'm also happy to, keep chatting.
Well, I guess if there's no one else from the commission that has any questions for George, I know he's been busy trying to help get the county going again, and we sincerely appreciate all of your efforts, George, and as well as Randy's and Simon's. I very much was encouraging the pass to get open before this weekend, and the fact that you guys are able to get it open on Thursday versus even Friday, that is greatly appreciated. So thank you, and yeah, by all means, please attend more of these. If it's a public meeting, so you're always welcome to attend, and we'll see what happens this weekend.
George, I want to add that I appreciate all of the work that the county has done to walk this tightrope between trying to help our businesses stay open and flourish, and the safety of the citizenry and the people who work in those businesses. I think that you've done a great job.
Amazing job, you guys. Seriously.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. I mean, I think a tightrope is a good analogy. We're sort of trying to walk a tightrope shoulder to shoulder, make sure nobody falls off, and make sure nobody drags us all off. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm gonna probably just mute myself and sit here and listen in and keep doing some work here. But thanks for having me here.
Thank you, George.
Thank you. All right. Is it now time for Slate? I believe I see Liz and Anna. Welcome. If you guys are ready, I believe we can go ahead. You guys have the floor.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you over Zoom once again. Hope you're all doing well. Yeah, happy to be here to give a little bit of an update of things that we're doing in the interim. I know we're still kind of paying attention to what's going on as far as governor's orders, what the Colorado Tourism Office is suggesting and messages they're putting out. And I'll talk about that in a moment, but I think it'd be helpful just to hear from you guys of since last month, what's kind of changed up in Georgetown. Are people starting to open up again? Are visitors, do you see more people coming in and out? I know you just had a conversation with the county commissioner, so you might have gone over this a little bit already, but is there any updates you can give us just to give a little bit of insight of how the community is doing and businesses are right now?
Well, from what I'm seeing, more businesses are pretty much open. Our restaurants are now open for sit down, I believe. Is that correct? The hotels are starting to see some more volume. People are definitely in more town that I see walking around, just kind of getting back to normal business of exploring town, driving around, hitting the shops. I'm not sure where the status of our museums are. I know Kevin's been working on some special ways to get the tours going again, if you want to elaborate on that, Kevin. But things are slowly coming back to life, and I think we're gaining momentum in a safe and proper way.
Good. Yeah, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
Well, the museum's not open yet. We were hoping to open this weekend, but the governor and the state have not made a comment on indoor activities, and so a tour inside of a building would fall into a category like that. And so we're still sort of in limbo. I've made some significant changes to how we're going to conduct a tour when that time comes. But we made the hard decision yesterday to shoot for July 1st or after. And so we will remain closed for this month. Now, having said that, we do have a museum shop, gift shop within this building. And so I want to explore whether we can have sort of a hybrid model here where we can separate the shop. We can separate it physically with a locked door from the rest of the museum. And I'd like to get the shop open if we're not able to do tours, just to create some sort of revenue and give people a taste of the property. But the Environmental Health Office is planning on doing a checklist, and it's going to be another day or two before that's available to businesses. The checklist will help businesses that are still closed reopen, but they want to review business plans from, I think, all businesses that haven't opened yet. And so I'm in the process now of creating a business plan of what our intention is, how we're going to open. And then my sub-business plan will be if it's shop only or shop first and museum later. So I've got a lot of work to do in order to submit this, but this checklist is supposed to expedite these reviews from environmental health here in the county. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, that's good to know. I think a lot of people are in the same boat of trying to figure out exactly what's allowed to open, what activities we can have, or how to make it work. Like you're saying, are indoor activities allowed? Can we move it outside or do something like that? Excuse me. So yeah, it's an interesting time. So like I mentioned, we've been watching, especially the CTO, Colorado Tourism Office, for those triggers as far as what's appropriate to start talking about when we start advertising again. So Anna, do you want to talk a little bit about that and what we're still kind of thinking as far as any timing for advertising?
Yeah, definitely. So we're looking to the Colorado Tourism Office as a leader in how to speak to tourism within the state of Colorado and how that would all work. In this time, we've figured out that what we're calling a phased approach, just like many other approaches, is that, you know, it's not going to be the drop of a pin and then bam, everything's back to normal again. It will have to come out in different phases with supported by kind of different elements of what's opening, what's safe, what are the professional recommendations of the public health office. And that is everything that's being funneled to us from the Colorado Tourism Office. So right now, if you may be familiar with Colorado tourism offices, they're calling it their CO campaign, their CO. Right now, they're in the Waiting to Co campaign, and there are other phases that will be kind of launching. The next one being Ready to Co, so play on Ready to Go. You know, beyond the kind of cleverness of it, I think it is an element where we're looking for who are they speaking to, how are they spending their advertising dollars, and helping to mimic some of that. So Liz mentioned we have different triggers. These are moments, and you know, not one trigger is the same, that we'll be looking for to make sure that our advertising efforts are aligned in a safe way, in a way that's going to be a smart way to spend the money and make the most of that advertising effort. So right now we're putting the Colorado Tourism Office's phases on kind of a high pedestal because we know that they're the leader for our state in the tourism messaging. However, things like the national parks reopening are happening. The governor releasing the Safer at Home in the Vast Great Outdoors, somewhat of a clunky title, but I do believe that that is the next phase of what he's recommending we do from a safety and travel perspective. So that most likely will be influencing the Colorado Tourism Office as well. And then finally, the last phase of the CO campaign is the Let's Co. And I know that they'll be first focusing on the in-state travel and then opening that up to the broader region, and then once again to national and international audiences. So that's what I envision us doing to support Georgetown as well. So keeping an eye on those triggers, making sure that when those do happen, we have things in place that we can get some messaging out there. I'm sure with your web and social media teams, you guys have laid out a plan for that in that respect. From an advertising perspective, I'm still very closely in touch with many of the vendors that we wanted to work with, as well as Dave Flugie from the Colorado Tourism Office. He runs a lot of their social work or their social media work. So like I said, we're at the ready, hoping this business promotions and digital kind of curriculum will be a helpful foundation for us in the meantime. But I think fall is still a target. I think Georgetown is perfectly capitalized to be able to promote the heck out of a beautiful fall season in Georgetown. So I think we'll be able to make the most of our dollars there. But until we see like that Ready to Co trigger, I think we'll be wary about spending any money.
Yeah, and in the meantime, like we talked about during our last meeting of getting a virtual kind of business digital marketing workshop going, we do have that scheduled now for June 16th. I think Carolyn just sent out the invite yesterday to the business owner list. So thank you, Carolyn, for all that help. I really appreciate it. But similar to what we did last year, but in a virtual space, Anna will be leading a presentation for about an hour and a half around digital marketing using social media as well as different review sites, but also trying to give a little bit of a spin towards how to maybe grow your online business through a little bit of e-commerce and other tips of how to engage folks in this kind of strange time where they might not be able to visit you in person quite yet, but how to keep your brand awareness up and use your website a little bit more to reach folks. So again, planning to do a presentation the morning of June 16th. And then we've also opened up about 8 to 10 one-on-one 45-minute sessions with local businesses as well. So again, that invite just went out yesterday. I've gotten, I think, 3 signups so far, which is really exciting. So keep sharing that. We'll probably send out more reminders as we get a little bit closer, but looking forward to working with your business community a little bit more in that sense. And then the final thing that we want to get back on our radar too is, as a company, Slate is starting to feel more comfortable going out and visiting clients too. So that means starting to get more video and photo shoots on the calendars again. So I think we'll revisit that with our team for later in June, possibly early July, just to keep growing that photo and video library that we've been talking about throughout the year. But with that, those are kind of our main updates. Do you guys have any questions for us right now?
Can you do me a favor and get with Jennifer to get the emails for the nonprofits that are still in town that don't get on these lists, please? I know that we'd looked at a workaround, but I would love to, that we haven't implemented that yet. And I would just love to, even if it's sent to the commissioners. Two of us, I know three of us, two of us are directors, and there's one of us who works on a committee for one of the nonprofits that would be helpful to us.
Okay.
Yes, Paul, I did add you to that business email list. I did add the nonprofits to that from the last meeting when you requested it.
Okay, because I'm not seeing this email. Maybe it's my personal
Okay, and
email.
Carolyn said she sent it to you.
Okay. Nope.
I just want to do a quick.
Did you resend that list to me? Because I only ever got one spreadsheet from you, or one list from you. So, I mean, I think I have Kevin added for sure. Okay.
Yeah, I can send it to you. And also, just for everybody's information, on our website, we have a list of all of the business license owners, their emails and phone numbers too. But I'm happy to send it out, you know, the list I've created to whoever wants it.
I received it.
Yeah, but I manually added you, Kevin, after we did our interview. So.
Yeah, I'm on it.
I just want to do a quick plug for the one-on-one sessions. I remember last year we did a similar virtual or digital like workshop. I think it was really helpful, but at the end it was clear that people had specific questions pertaining to their business in particular, or levels of which they felt comfortable in that digital space. So, you know, knowing that you guys are the leaders of the community and that you probably hear questions from other businesses, please refer them to the one-on-one sessions, especially because I think that's where we get the most bang for our buck, right? Like people can actually ask specific questions to their business. We can walk through one-on-one setting up different accounts and putting together a social media calendar or implementing Google Analytics on your website. So there's so much that we can do. It's not a ton of time in that 45 minutes, but I do feel strongly like that's kind of the best way to get some of that traction in the digital sense. So feel free to go for it. Even if you feel like you're a guru, you know, I can learn from you as well, and would love to see what you guys are doing on the behalf of your business. And that way I can spread that message too. So don't feel hesitant, no matter what level of kind of digital comfort you're at or what you've been working on so far. These are kind of open sessions to approach it wherever you are.
Looks like Cassandra sent a quick comment in the chat about the Colorado Calm campaign. Anna, do you want to talk a little bit about that too?
Yeah, that's a good question. The Colorado Calm campaign was their initial response to COVID from an external sort of social media, as well as just in general external presence. So Dave Flugie, he really led that effort, and he found that there was conflict whenever photos with people in them were posted, even if they were, you know, deliberately called out and said this was posted or this photo was taken in 2016, you know, this is not irrelevant, this is not a current photo. I think it still confused a lot of audiences. So they went with a specific campaign called Colorado Calm that was essentially to just sort of plug your newsfeed with good calming elements. So I'm not sure, I'd have to kind of brush up our photo and video library. The credentials for Colorado Calm videos to be submitted are video with calming audio. It's not required, but it is helpful. So if it's like a bubbling brook or, you know, wind through trees or something like that, sounds kind of cheeky, but people are eating it up. So I would say if you do have anything like that, I believe that they may have transitioned from Colorado Calm to the now Let's Co. And I know that they were grabbing user-generated content for the Colorado Calm as well. So it was not just those videos submitted by other DMOs around the state. It was kind of a curation of everything.
Yeah, so like Anna mentioned, it was very nice to see that on social media of just kind of, you know, panning of landscapes or stills or videos along a river, that kind of thing. So I think that is something we were a little bit lacking in our photo and video library from the past year or so. If that is still a campaign going on, you know, in the next month or so, we can get more footage. But if you happen to have anything, you know, as you're out and about, I know Travis has been doing some great stuff on social media too. If you have any video that is worth sharing with CTO, feel free to send it our way, or we can give you the direct contact. All right, anything else you guys have for us?
All right, well, if nobody has anything else, thank you, Liz and Anna, for all the great work. We really appreciate everything that you guys are doing for us, and keep up the good work. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks
Appreciate it.
guys. Yeah, and
Have a good
hopefully we
one.
see you on the 16th with our webinar.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay, next up on the agenda, social media update. Travis, would you like to give us a report?
Absolutely. Thank you. I feel like our social media strategy is sort of evolving back to kind of a relatively normal pattern now that the roads are open, the lake is open, restaurants are open. Definitely was in sort of a PR mode for the last couple of months, and now we're getting back into more of the marketing side as we're reopening things here. And I think that they were right. Slate and a lot of the nature photos are drawing a lot of attention. That's where we're seeing the most response right now, but I'm trying to up the reshares and posts and stories about businesses as well as we're starting to lift some of the restrictions. Just to give you a metrics, and I'll send this over to Jennifer and so she can share it out, but and I'll focus mostly again on Facebook and Instagram for Visit Georgetown, although we do have a new Twitter account that's we're starting to circulate a little bit, and keeping the John Denver's Georgetown and Christmas gift Facebook pages active as well, mostly through reshares about Visit Georgetown right now. For Facebook, we had an addition of 30 followers, so we're up to 4,736 Facebook followers. We had 23 posts since May 6th, with a total reach of over 25,000, with an average of 1,092 per post. Reactions were roughly 1,500, with an average of 65 per post. We also did 42 stories on Facebook, almost 3,000 views with an average of 69 per story. With Instagram, we gained 37 followers and we're up to almost 1,300 now. We had 14 posts since May 6th with 1,621 likes and an average of 141 per post. And then 37 stories with 4,329 views and an average of 117 per story. So that's sort of the recap. Again, I'll send that over to Jennifer so she can get that over to everybody. But if anybody has any questions, I'm all ears right now. I like that we're doing, or Slate's offering this workshop, because I want to reiterate, and I'll reshare that to everyone. And hopefully businesses will take advantage of that, because really, if you tag Visit Georgetown and you can remember to do that, or even give me a heads up on email, it's almost always an automatic reshare. So definitely take advantage of that. If you can remember to do that, give me a heads up. I try to follow everyone's page, but sometimes it's a little overwhelming throughout the week. So.
Hey, Travis, I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I follow the hashtag Georgetown, Colorado, like a lot of people. And there was kind of a not very nice Instagram post the other day with hashtag Georgetown, Colorado in it.
Okay. Do you recall what the content was?
It wouldn't be appropriate to say in a public meeting, but it said, share and like if you bleeping hate Georgetown, Colorado. And it was a picture taken from the past. And it was just some random guy. I reported it, but like, do we have a plan when that it was like, I was like, what did Georgetown do to you, bro?
Yeah, was it full on Georgetown, Colorado hashtag? Okay. I follow that, so I don't know why I didn't see it, but yeah.
It was very random. And even like the person that posted it, I have a screenshot of it I can send to you if you want. The person that posted it was like, that's weird. Like one of his friends was like, that's kind of weird, dude.
Yeah.
And that was the only comment on the whole thing.
Okay.
It was, I mean, he's not like an influencer or anyone important. I can say
Right.
that. It wasn't like, he didn't have like, 10,000 followers. I think he had like 80. But it was just, I was like, what do we do when this happens? Like in a business setting, we kind of know what to do. But like when someone hashtag hates a whole town.
Yeah, definitely. I know with
Which is
Facebook,
weird.
we've been good about hiding some of the replies, so only they or their friends can see them. If they won't let up, we just sort of like take them down.
No, I think he said that because the pass was closed. No, I'm just joking, George.
No, but thanks for bringing that to my attention. I haven't seen too many negative comments yet on Instagram, but we do get them on Facebook, especially with the closures. There was a lot of like tension around that, obviously, and so people were voicing their resentment a little bit. But I will keep a better eye on the hashtags that I'm following on Instagram, because that one didn't cross my feed.
It was very odd. I will
If you
say
could
that.
send it to me, I'll take a look. If you remember the post or
Text is written on the photo.
okay.
Yeah.
It's right here. It's
Okay.
still up.
Yeah. Maybe if all of us report on it, they'll take it down.
There you go.
So odd. Like you took the time to make a meme about us, dude? That's a little weird.
I'll take a look right now. Maybe I can find it.
Yeah, it's strange. Anyway, that was it.
All right. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. Definitely.
No worries.
I know we're not in the business of censoring, but sometimes you got to hide comments or take them down if they're just mean spirited. We're a small mountain town that's just trying to do our best up here. So.
Hey,
Your
Travis.
only
say
other
that,
option is to be a jerk and say something like, I'm sorry you're angry at a virus, but we don't want to go there, right?
I will say that your responses to your posts are much higher than what I was getting. And so congratulations on that.
Well, thank you. It was, yeah, pushing my buttons a few times, but yeah.
Is there a general mood that you've noticed, or like a temperature check on social media of people kind of in general relative to normal times that you're sensing, on these platforms?
I think the mood was some anger from a few people early on when we announced the lake closure, and when it was hitting all the news. I don't even remember when that was, 2 months ago now. And that's where we saw probably the most negative comments, but it was really from a handful of people. Most of these people were, and I did a little snooping around, and most of them were from Aurora or Commerce City or somewhere nowhere close, and probably have no understanding. And so of our healthcare infrastructure up here. And so I'd have to try to explain that. We're a small town trying to protect ourselves, but I feel like we were at the height of it maybe 7 or 8 weeks ago. I haven't seen too many negative comments lately. People are really excited about the lake being open. I see people tagging their loved ones and their partners to come up here maybe in the next couple of weeks to do some fishing. I try to include language around doing it safe, but I feel like people are, the vibe is a lot more optimistic the last week. I will say that. I think people are going to be really excited to hear about Guanella Pass. So. Is that
Yeah.
something that we can announce today, like it's going to open at 2 p.m., or should we wait till it's actually open? What do you think, George or Steve?
I'll
The
let
county
George
just-
comment. I'll let George comment, but it sounds like 2:00 on Thursday is the date. I heard that from a second source as well, but we would probably just want to confirm that to make sure that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's worth confirming. And my own preference, and I think what makes sense with regards to marketing in general, knowing the risks that we generate when too many people come, is for us to know we have a marketing problem before we engage heavily in marketing. I realize that might not sit well with all of you guys, but it's my opinion.
Well, I think there has to be a strategy behind it. Misinformation is just as bad as actual information. And we had a lot of people, including locals, for whatever reason, were confused. We all thought the pass was open. And then went back, did research, saw the, I don't know if it was a promotion item from the county or from the tourism office, but it was from Clear Creek stating that it was open up to a certain point for locals, or all these nuances. And I think, I agree with what George is saying, is I don't think we want to promote it from the perspective of driving traffic there. But I do think we want to communicate the fact that it is open so people can get real information. George, I don't know if that aligns with what you just said.
I just want to say that we listen to the meetings at the trust, and we've been telling people since we heard it at the meeting that the pass opens on the 4th, which is Thursday. But we're not advertising it. People are calling, or people are coming in and they're very interested to know when that gate's opening. So we disseminate the information that way. If you want me to change that, I can do that. But
I think that's good. I can get back to a couple people already with their direct questions, those that have inquired through email.
And I have found that we are still getting people asking why the past tense the roads were closed, and most people are very compassionate when you explain the fact that we're such a tiny community and the number of first responder staff, and that they get it then, but they didn't get it before because the 13,000 feet and being in fresh air bit. So that's what we've been doing. But but if it's okay, we're still going to disseminate that information if people request it. We're not
I
putting.
will say if it's anything like,
but they're already here anyway, so.
if it's like the lake, they're gonna figure it out. The lake opened like, I walked the lake the morning it opened, and it was like Disneyland. Like it was so many people. I was like, it's been open like 30 minutes, people. Did you like sit in Idaho Springs and wait? Like I couldn't, it was, yeah. So it won't take long.
We get about 100 calls a day about the lake.
What I would like to do, in a spirit of working in partnership with the county commissioners and Forest Service. I mean, George, you just heard the follow-on conversation. You brought up a good point about not wanting to promote it. I mean, do you think we're going kind of in the right direction here with our conversation? We're not going to strategize on what we should or shouldn't promote, but I want to make sure we're to the degree we can, we align obviously with the safe reopening of the pass versus an unsafe reopening of the pass.
I think what you said a while back, just a couple minutes ago about, having good information out there makes a lot of sense. The county did a press release saying it's open, so that, and I think maybe what makes sense is to do, I also saw the Tourism Bureau put something out, and maybe what makes sense and what sounds like you're suggesting, and I agree, is that we do a little bit of that and then sit back and see. And I know it's a little bit weird because we're in a tourism economy and we're used to just trying to push as many people here as we can. So I'll stop there because I don't want to take up a ton of time, but I think it sounds like we're in alignment. And just for the record, I want to make clear that I'm not necessarily representing consensus on the Board of County Commissioners on this topic.
I just want to add that as far as the certainty of the road opening, Carl Shell with the Road and Bridge Department was extremely confident in being able to get the roads open. Scott Hawes with the U.S. Forest Service was very confident in getting the restrooms open and ready. So, I mean, there's a ton of confidence coming. So as far as will it open, will it not open? I mean, you know, sitting on the meeting yesterday, as far as the county commissioners kind of put it off on the staff to see if they would be able to open it or not. And George, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, it was kind of nice to hear the staff come back and say that, you know, we feel very confident that we can do it by 2 o'clock on Thursday. And I think that, I mean, they felt like they would be able to open it today, but that would be, you know, pushing it too hard. So I think that's why they ultimately went with tomorrow, just to buy some time in case they needed it. But I mean, that's kind of what our direction for was, to go ahead and put the information out there. Because like you too, we've been hammered with the question of, you know, when is it opening? You know, when can we expect to go? And I mean, camping's not going to be open till July 1st up there, but you know, so I thought that was an important inclusion also. But I think that's why we felt confident going ahead and putting something on social media and updating the website as we speak to, you know, have that relevant information so that we are, you know, ready to answer those questions. That's all I'll say about that.
Hey, George. Is there any sort of different protocol or any sort of messaging that you would like us, as far as social distancing on top of the pass, when it comes to parking and the trails? Is there anything different from a town or local perspective if people ask that you would want us to convey as far as protocols up there, or is it just usual guidelines?
Yeah, it's just the usual guidelines. We don't have any, you know, additional face mask requirements right now. I doubt we would impose a face mask requirement at the top of Guanella Pass anyway. And, you know, I'll point to the Colorado Tourism Office and what their messaging has been. They've really focused during this period of time where we're not sure we want or need to invite more people, messaging that helps inform the people who are coming through the passive channels that exist. I mean, you know, it's not like we've pulled down our tourism websites. I think that is very helpful. And they explained to us a couple of different things. And I think somebody was mentioning it earlier. I wasn't paying too close attention, but I think that type of messaging to inform people who are arriving here is very helpful.
But something to remember is that there's no dispersed camping or overnight parking on the pass, except for the Waldorf Basin, which has about 8 campgrounds, and that the parking at the top was limited by the Forest Service a couple years ago. So those things are still in effect with regard to Guanella. And it's something that I think people kind of forget about. And it's something that we should remember if we're looking at that.
With the governor's encouragement to recreate out of doors right now, he was very quick to remind people that if they cross another party on a trail, to continue to social distance and wear masks. And so I think that might be good to bullet point some of those practices as a reminder that even though you're in great air circulation, you're going to encounter people and you need to still do those social distancing and protective measures.
Is that perhaps something we may want to put on Facebook or something? You know, maybe some links to those specific guidelines from the state or county?
Sure.
Georgetown. Does that make sense, or is that overkill?
I think the more information, the better. That's my vote, but.
Yeah, good information, and you know, they're employing experts in the health industry to come up with these standards, and so I think, you know, reshares or links is the way to go, and it puts the responsibility on the experts.
And as far as parking is concerned, it's just business as usual. Just anywhere you can find an off-street parking spot, as they've been doing, is still allowed, right?
Parking is designated, so you see there are specific pull-offs that give information about it, and then there are specific lots that they're allowed to park in. It's just, so that's fine. It's all designated.
All right. Anyone else have any questions or concerns concerning social media of any type?
I just wanted to mention that Travis and I had a chance to meet this week, and we have a strategy for promoting events if and when we can have them. So I'm encouraged that we've got a way to share events now with lots of communities.
There's some that we can create, and Carolyn has offered to gather content and media assets. So it's not, I'm not creating everything. So I think we have a nice little team going here with that. And like, I appreciate all the virtual events when we can get tagged in those. We try to reshare those as much as possible as well. So.
All right. Travis, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Website update. Kyle, go ahead.
All righty. So in case anyone wants to follow along, I'll put a link to my report in the chat. And then I'll also share my screen. Oh, it looks like screen sharing is disabled. Jennifer, do you want me to just talk to it, or are you able to enable that?
Let's see. I thought I had it set for screen sharing's always been allowed. I don't know why it's not working. But you can just go ahead and talk, I guess.
Okay. So yeah, if you click the link in the chat, then that'll take you to the report. And this month, you know, was great. We turned the corner we've been working on for a long time here. So I'm happy to see all this. The graph up top here kind of consolidates a lot. It's search performance for the last 3 months. So you can see right when this latest version of the website launched until now, basically. And we went through a lull because COVID kind of hit us right at that exact same time. And now we're coming back, you know, getting close to 150 clicks a day on average right now. And impressions are up dramatically as well. So in May, we saw a 44% growth in impressions, which is just how many times the site is shown to people. 183% growth in clicks, actual clicks from Google to the site, and then 176% growth in overall traffic compared to April. So happy to see all that. And I suspect we'll see continued growth in June. This kind of shows the fight we had on our hands. It's valid pages versus errored pages as reported by Google. We had to get this reporting set up properly before we could see what Google was willing to tell us. But the 141 pages that were shown to be in an error state by Google have dropped out of the index, thankfully. And our valid pages are all indexed now. So you kind of see it step up as we add content to the site, but there's nothing missing. And so that removed the soft penalty that was pushing downward in search. The penalty was mostly due to a violation of the doorway page policy by that Google doesn't. They're very strict on how certain types of content are instructed on site, and we were violating that, so that's been corrected. Featured pages, all the featured pages I've done so far are ranking for relevant keywords, which was the goal. So, you know, that idea is working and it's very valuable. It's free of charge. And I would encourage anyone that's not submitted a featured page to do so. And if you have any questions on that, by all means, just shoot me an email or ask me now. It's a really simple process and it's free exposure for your business. And then in June, basically just we'll continue on the same route we've been on for the last couple months, continue building links to the website, focusing on travel blogs, continue to optimize content based on the data I'm getting from Google Search Console. And then I'll be putting a content creation focus this month on summer hiking. So we have, you know, the fall keywords, baking that we're going to be watching closely on that, and through summer trying to get our search presence for fall leafing season as robust as possible, kind of keeping that effort in line with Slate's advertising efforts. And in the meantime, my thought is to generate content for hiking resources around the area, because that's a big draw. But obviously, if anyone has other ideas, then I'm all ears.
I just have a suggestion, Kyle. On the website, Lucha's is closed and so is Ophelia's. So we might want to change that.
Thank you. Yes, no, I appreciate everyone being so helpful with pointing stuff like that out. I just pulled down Lucha. I will get Ophelia's taken down by the end of the meeting as well.
I guess the question is, do we take them down or do we just indicate temporarily closed due to fire or something like that?
So what I did with Lucha, and we can do something different if you want, is I just hid the container and then we can bring it back live if we want to do that. But if you'd rather keep it visible and just have a message on there, either way works.
I think putting a message on it makes sense because there may be people who are frequent visitors of both of those places, and they may be checking on hours or something, and they'll get duly informed before making the trip.
Okay, I'll go that route.
What it looks like the homepage still has stay home information on it with COVID. Is that something we'd like to change, or would we like to stay with that messaging going forward? Because it seems kind of like a mixed message at this point with businesses opening up.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. Good question. I would think we would want to pull that down, but you guys let me know.
I'd vote to pull it down.
I would also be in favor of that.
I think with the social distancing, I mean, maybe the only like addition that we would want to put on is like something about observing social distancing, like when you're walking about town, maybe, but on it, like we we all in our businesses have to have our measures in place. And I don't know if everyone's aware, but the health department is checking. Like, we had a 2-hour inspection yesterday, and a good hour of it was literally devoted to our COVID systems and logs to make sure that they were all legal. And so it's not something that's just going to be like a fly by night thing. So I think having that messaging down is important so businesses can get going, but businesses also really have to observe the rules. It's not a game.
George put on chat, he's saying it's called Safer at Home and in the Great, Vast Outdoors.
The title really flows.
That's kind of good. Well, come on, Amanda.
Just say it.
Anyway, it's good discussion though. It sounds like we're kind of got two positions here. Maybe I don't think it does any damage. I think people who want to get out are going to get out no matter what that banner says. The question is, do we, what does everyone think? I mean, do we want to take a straw vote and say who's in favor of keeping the messaging up? Raise your hand, or say aye. Who's in favor of keeping the banner up? Raise your hand or say aye.
Aye. Oh, I'm not up. Changing it. Sorry.
You mean? Do you mean keeping the banner up with the update of Safer at Home? Okay.
Keep the banner up with what George said the new slogan is, I guess, for whatever you want to call it. So Kevin, anybody else in favor? Jan, you're in favor, or Justin? Who's in favor of taking it down? Raise your hand.
Yeah, I mean, if my vote counts, that makes sense to me, I think.
I think we had 3, and I'll raise my hand to take it down, but I think we had 3 taking it down, and 1, 2, 3 keeping it up. I don't know, and Amanda is gone, so I don't know if she's listening. Amanda, are you in favor of keeping the banner up or taking it down?
I would like it taken down. I apologize. I had to break up a fight, but I was listening.
I would like to explain the reason I think that we should take it down.
What's that?
I just would like to say why I think what I think. I think that I agree with Amanda that we're already doing what we're doing and our place is in place, and this is an advertising website. And we're at a point where we've moved into another phase that brings people up here regardless, and they're coming regardless. And something that I want to look at in my business as well is how are we going to continue doing this and encourage people to do the right thing without having a big no at the beginning of what we're doing. And that banner right now was appropriately a big no for a while, but we're asking people to come up here. We just need to figure out a way when they get here to say, we are all in one to try to make things safer for you, but we do want you here as much as we can. And that's why I think it should be taken down from the advertising website.
Well, I think this is go ahead, Jan. You're muted, Jan. You have to unmute.
The reason why I think that it's okay to be up is because we are still in this weird situation, but it is also still inviting them to come up to the great vast outdoors, but it's reminding them that it's still a weird situation. And so I don't see the harm in having more, complete information. So that's why I voted to keep it up.
Well, I have a suggestion. Maybe it's not a we share the information, but we don't put it front and center right at the top of the landing page of the website. Maybe we can we create a separate section where it says, current COVID update, and maybe they can go to that and understand from a town's perspective where we stand on it, and we just repeat what the governor's order is.
Yeah, so if you look at the homepage now, I just put Parker's banner back up, and this isn't permanent. I'm just as an example. And then underneath it, there's the button to COVID-19 information through the county. So my thought is let the county handle keeping up on information and portraying that accurately. And we can provide a link to that, but not muddy the water.
I like that idea a lot. I don't know how everyone else feels. Okay, we got a lot of thumbs. Why don't we go with that then, guys?
Okay.
I just have to say, Kyle, I like the way you work. That's awesome. Nice job.
Okay, anyone else? Anything to bring up considering the website or marketing? All right, thank you, Kyle. Appreciate it. Moving on, Carolyn, do you have a presentation? Is she on? Carolyn, are you on?
I am here. So I've been continuing to interview business owners and getting a lot of good information and feedback from people. It is tailing off though. I did send one more request to all business owners that haven't responded yet. I think I sent that today. I think I sent it Friday or Monday, and only got one more person to come on board. So I think I may have tapped everybody out. So those who are gonna engage with me have, I think, and so I'm gonna probably switch gears after next week and try to start putting together some kind of a report. Unless you guys want to encourage me to cold call people, because I mean, my experience with working with some businesses in the past on some other events I was doing is that they're not always the best with email. So, I mean, I could start making some phone calls and see if I could schedule more interviews with folks, because I really do want to get to know all of the business owners. So I guess I look for your advice on that. How much should I pursue an opportunity to talk with everybody?
Well, I would jump in and just say, I agree. The more you talk to people, the better. And it just depends upon what your priorities are and how, I'm not sure exactly how many hours you're putting in and allowed to put in and what your priorities are. I certainly wouldn't have it trump anything that we would probably deem being more important. So, but it sounds to me like if you've got filler time, certainly continuing a reach out program vis-a-vis phone would be a good use of your time. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I'm probably using less than half of it. Go ahead, Amanda.
Sorry, Carolyn. Hi, how are you, by the way?
I'm great.
A lot of business owners, I don't think, knew what they were doing, honestly. I don't think a lot of business owners had a direction during COVID as far as what it was going to look like when they came out of COVID. It's been extremely difficult for all of us to make plans and kind of know what the direction of our businesses looked like. And so I would encourage maybe like reaching out to people individually. I mean, I know I, for one, didn't get back to you because I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know if I want to spotlight the new normal. What did we look like previously? There's new businesses that have opened. There's the new coffee place on 6th Street, I think I saw a sign for. That we've obviously had some issues on 6th Street as far as like Ophelia's closing, Shop International's kind of on the fence. I mean, I think that as much as we can showcase the kind of the recovery for businesses and letting them kind of narrate that a little bit would be good. But I think that it's worth another shot as things open up again, because in April, I didn't know what was going to look like for us. I didn't know what to say. I still honestly don't know what to say half the time, but I have a better picture.
Well, the questions that I'm asking are really somewhat generic, and we do have that brief like caveat of pre-COVID, how would you answer this? So I'm really asking about events in the past and how we've promoted things in the past and just getting input from folks. But the most important thing for me is to get to know the owner and their business. So that first 5 minutes of conversation for me is extremely valuable because I get to hear how they describe their business. I get to know a little bit about them personally, who they are. So that's for me personally the most important thing. And then the rest of the questions are the things that'll be more important in the report, which is feedback about, what they feel Georgetown does well, opportunities for improvement, which events work best for them, any ideas for promoting events that we may not have used before, any ideas they might have for other kind of promotions we might do. I mean, it's just basically seeking everybody's input, and most of that isn't impacted by COVID. So fear not, Amanda, sign up. Let's talk. I got over half. I should have looked before I jumped on the call how many I've done, but I've got over half of the 99 businesses I think that I've talked to. So it has been pretty good. I just feel like I'm tired of dogging everybody. I've sent I think 4 emails over the last 5 or 6 weeks asking for people to set up a time with me. And at this point, if they're not responding, they've got a reason. But I'm more than happy to make phone calls, knowing that email is not always the best way to reach everybody. So I can continue to do that. The only other thing I'm gonna talk with Cassandra tomorrow, and I also have reached out to County Health to set up some time to talk with them about. I'm struggling, and I guess I'll listen to you guys for advice on this. If 2,000 people tomorrow decide they want to come drive to Georgetown and come in, they can. Nothing is stopping them from coming in, parking, going into our shops, walking the streets. Yet we're feeling like we can't have an event. We can't have a car show. And that might bring that same 2,000 people up and walk the streets and do everything. When in fact, I think there's probably ways to do those things very safely, as long as we have signage that reminds people about the 6 foot. And so I am really struggling and trying to figure out who I need to talk to about so we've decided not to do events, but why not? And I'm glad George is on the call. He may be able to weigh in. So specifically, I've requested a meeting with County Health through Cindy, and she's said she was willing to do that to help, and just to help me think it through, because I understand what the intent is for keeping people safe. But the reality is 2,000 people can come to Georgetown today. I just can't invite them. And that feels, I'm struggling with that. I can't invite them saying, we're having an event, please come. And so I don't know if you guys have, Kevin, I mean, if you want to, anybody of you want to chime in, I'm antsy. I'd love to do some stuff to get these businesses some business, but I don't want to go against the safer at home policy or anything like that. So
one big change is the 10-mile radius has been dropped. And so that's
right.
In your favor. And so that's why we weren't going to court. Yeah, we weren't going to court that car show earlier in the season, but now the 10-mile rule, people can travel now. So,
Carolyn, I think what we have to do going forward is we handle it for each event. So we have to talk about 4th of July. We have other events that are going to be coming on the calendar, and every step of the way, we have to just make sure we ask, to the degree we know, we ask the right questions of the right officials, and we state what we're going to do and get guidance and get advice. And we may have to then make a decision because, again, I agree with you. People are going to come no matter what. And there's a lot of moving pieces. Kent, I'm going to ask him to update us at some point on any further discussion on closing 6th Avenue, to allow more sidewalk spacing for people to socially distance easier. So all of this kind of plays together. So I don't think we're gonna boil the ocean. We have to at one shot, we have to do it on a case-by-case basis. Amanda, go ahead. Amanda, you're muted. Okay.
Yeah, I was unmuting. There's a fight again. It's in the orders, unfortunately. It says that there can't be gatherings of more than 10 people still. I just read it.
Okay, well,
That's true. But when I come to an event with my husband, there's only 2 of us and we're walking around
But
the
I
same
think-
town. So
no, hang on.
I'm all about it, but it says
Yvette-
specifically prohibit public gatherings of groups of 10 persons in both public and private commercial spaces unless gatherings of groups greater than 10 persons are expressly authorized by this executive order or an associated PHO.
I mean, that seems clear to me, but if we need to get further clarification, but it seems if I was to do a car show with 20 cars for a group event, that would be prohibited. That's the way I listened to what Amanda just said about the executive order.
And this was, I actually, in anticipation of us having a conversation about 4th of July today, I read this stuff the parts of this order last night. I think it was this order, maybe it was the old one, but because I was thinking of maybe like coming on and proposing like a socially distanced parade or something, but I don't think that that's legal, unfortunately.
Well, I guess it's going to be very important because to make sure we know, because it's going to impact decisions we were hoping to make at this meeting. Go ahead, Paul.
Well, I just also feel that there's a vast difference between people showing up organically, 2,000 people, and another 2,000 people invited to something. And this is Pride Month, and there's no Pride anywhere in the country. All of these different events are not happening anywhere in the country. And if we're the first group to make one of these events happen, what are we saying? Back to the original thing, I have found in this town and county, if I don't make phone calls to get a hold of people, regardless of if I'm working with them or businesses, I won't get a hold of them. So we have to follow up with what we're doing through email for meetings and everything else, and phone calls. And again, I know Kent is your supervisor, but with regard to getting a hold of businesses and trying to get them to do something with you, I would make a phone call or drop in if they're open, because that's honestly the best way we've ever been able to operate.
that's good advice, Paul. Thank you.
George, I'm not sure I understand what your text is. Would you mind just jumping back on audio and explaining that?
Yeah, so the executive order doesn't make any changes to the public health order that's existing. The public health order is where the law exists. So the executive order is directing CDPHE to update their public health order along certain lines, which means that, and to do so by Thursday. So when the public health order comes out on Thursday from CDPHE, it'll be a lot more specific than the governor's executive order, and will actually carry the weight of law.
So I guess does that, for example, I guess we would not be able to make a decision on our 4th of July parade until we read what that says on Thursday. Would that be correct?
I mean, technically, yes. Although, I mean, in the executive order, it says to continue to limit groups to 10, except where expressly authorized. Now, it could be that on Thursday you see that they say that they give more clarity around certain types of events, but I would be surprised if it goes beyond that group size of 10 limit.
Okay. All right, well, there you have it. Well,
The other thing, I can't raise my hand, Steve, so I'm just going to butt in here. The other thing that I'll say is event by event's fine, but events take a long time to plan, especially if you want to bring outside vendors in. So if I only have a month to pull in outside vendors, we're probably not going to get any vendors. Well, maybe we will, because they're not going anywhere else. But that's just something to keep in mind. I'm happy, just keep in mind that if we decide to go ahead with something, we need a several month lead time to make that happen successfully.
No, that's actually a fair point, but that's reality. I mean, the reality is our businesses
Yeah.
were shut down effectively for 2 months, and we get it. And there'll be more pain endured as we all crawl out of this. But I can't wave a magic wand and say, yeah, let's start spending money and let's start promoting for something we may end up canceling at the last minute. I don't think that's a good use of time, energy, and resources. We just have to go with what we can best do, what we best know today. And if it's a long lead time item, to the degree we can put it on hold, we put it on hold. To the degree it's like the 4th of July parade, I'm guessing we'll all vote or we'll all agree it's not going to happen this year, but that's going to be the next conversation. So.
Very fair point, Steve. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Carolyn. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Justin. I don't know if there was anything else you had, Carolyn. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I am struggling with maintaining the intent of the order versus what we're being allowed to do. Because like I said, I see we did the Memorial Day ceremony. We had 37 people there, all who wore masks except a couple. Everybody maintained social distance. And there was, in my opinion, trust me, I'm one of the most cautious people out there right now with this. I did not feel unsafe at all. So that technically was a mini event that we went ahead and did, and it felt extremely safe. So then that made me think about, well, a car show, cars are spread out. If people are coming in groups less than 10 and are walking from car to car and are maintaining 6 feet of distance from people they're not related to or don't live with, at what point is that unsafe? Or how is that not in alignment with, and I'm just using the car show as an example, but how does that not adhere to the policies, so.
Paul?
I just want to go on the record as a commissioner to say that I do not want to do anything that goes contrary to what the law is, the intent of the law, or the safety of people. When you are inviting people specifically to come to an event that intends to draw more than 10 people, that is going against the spirit of the law, and it endangers the safety of our people. When you had an event that was intended to be a small Memorial Day ceremony and 35 people happened to show up to it, that's a completely different thing than having something like a car show or parade or something else that we're doing to bring people in. I am planning an event, or we are, you'll be invited into it, Caroline, in November, but we already have plans to have to abandon that by September if it's something is bad. So it is, I know that you're trying to do the best you can with it, but I think even hearing what you're saying, you're trying to flout the law by saying that, well, that's people and they're coming in groups of 2. People come in groups of anything to any event, and making a major event happen in a town is going to invite more than 10 people. That is the intent of the invitation. That's what's happening with it. And unfortunately, that goes against the spirit of the law. That may change tomorrow and we may be able to move forward and go somewhere, but that's how I feel.
Thank you, Paul. That's helpful.
If I could also add,
I was looking for.
Go ahead, man.
No, and Carolyn, I love the fact that you have the passion, the gumption, and trying to get our town moving again. But even the health department guidance, and I'm using the restaurant side specifically because that's what I'm the most surprised on. We can't seat a party of more than 8 people in the restaurant. If we have a party of 10 walk in, we have to split them up and they cannot socialize. I went to the brewery for the first time last week and it was amazing. But my friends were there and I literally wasn't allowed to walk from my table to my friend's table to talk to them, even though they're people I've seen during all of this in recent weeks as things have lightened up.
That's just because we didn't want you walking around, Amanda. It's not, you personally.
Got it. It was just, no, but I also, as a town, and for not just for our citizens, but to be good citizens, I think taking the PHOs at the letter of how they're written is the right thing to do. If that, that coffee shop in Castle Rock that went against the PHOs and opened, yeah, they might have a fat GoFundMe, but the reality of the situation is they have a lot of angry citizens in Castle Rock that feel that they were outright mocking and they were the public health orders and endangering public health, and that didn't sit well with people. And I would not want to be the town that decides to go on an example to be where people go, oh, look at what Georgetown did. Especially in the event we ended up in a situation where we were spreading and inadvertently had an outbreak of some sort, and then we ended up in a worse position. I think the conservative approach, as much as I hate it, I mean, all the business owners are dying. I wrote a very passionate letter to the commissioners. George will tell you about why Guanella Pass needed to open again. But I felt, there's a difference between a group of 4 people coming in cars. Sorry, George. I know you had to read my soapbox letter. But there was a difference between a family of 4 in Denver coming in cars than inviting people into a gathered space. And I think we just have to be really conservative. And I hate it because the 4th is amazing up here, and there's a few things we'll talk about when the 4th comes, but it would be irresponsible for us to go against the orders, even if there's organic foundations in how the gatherings occur.
I think we probably should move on because we're running out of time and we do have a couple other things to cover. But Carolyn, I award you the gold star for being hired as the promotions coordinator, and your job is to do exactly what you're suggesting. And thanks for giving us a chance to weigh in on what you have to say. Thank you.
Okay, and I have a few other ideas if we can't do events. I don't know if you want me to share them now, but I keep talking to business owners about my experience in Williamsburg, Virginia, and how just walking through the historic town, around a corner, there's a blacksmith working, and over here, there's women dipping candles. And there are things that are just happening to make you feel like you've stepped back in time. And those, I don't know, I'm throwing it out there, are things we might consider if we can't do events, to just create things in the town that makes the tourism or the visitor experience, I don't know, give them things to see and do while they're walking through the town. Because we can't do events, so maybe budget that might have been spent on events we could do to set things like that up. Just somebody somebody's always in Strauss Park doing something historical, and I don't know what those historical things are, but those are the other ideas I've come up with recently if we can't do events. So I don't know if you guys have any feedback on something like that.
What you're suggesting, I think, is dot on. That was originally my intention with opening the brewery 3 years ago, was I wanted to have people be able to walk in and watch craftsmen at work actually brewing beer. Our brew house is right inside our tap room. And that's the kind of feel and flavor at least historic downtown Georgetown needs to have. And I agree with you. You can promote that and things like that without saying, we want 200 people there, doing something. That's a very good point.
Okay, well, I'll continue to flush those ideas out and try to cost them, because that's the key is, if you guys, what I could use though is suggestions on what happened in the 1880s, what would be going on in town, what do I want to recreate? The candles I think is good because they use candles in the mines, but when the miners came into town after work, what would the activities have been? How do I recreate that? So if any of you have that historical perspective and can come up with some things that you think are visual that I might try to plan for and cost out, that I could bring back and see what you guys think. I mean, I'd be happy to do that legwork and try to figure out, what would actors cost, or can I find true craftsmen that would come do their craft for a day?
You don't need to spend any money. Kevin and I just aligned. When they get out of the mines, they went and got drunk. So that's all we do.
How about
that's great.
Talk? If I'm going to make a suggestion, and I'm very familiar with Williamsburg, family there, and Kevin and I have spent a lot of time in Williamsburg, and this is, Kevin's a museum director. If we're going to do it and we're going to do live crafts and we're going to do things like that, I suggest that and you can work with my organization since we have a cultural arts center. And then we can get CSU involved in that, and you can work with Kevin on some proper things. I would cringe if I saw someone dressed in quasi 1880s costume doing quasi interpretation and some of the ye oldie this or that-y nonsense that's not real. And I know that a lot of the historic people would think the same, but there's a vast difference. I keep saying vast difference lately. I don't know what my problem is. But you're on the right track. I do love the idea of, say, a blacksmith, if they're available, or whatever we're doing. The idea of modern craftspeople reinterpreting historic things or reinterpreting what they're doing in a modern way. So these are people who are still practicing this stuff. And I do know people who do that rather than trying for the first person interpretation bit but Gary Haynes is not interpreting what actually happened in the town. So he's not. I'm talking about actually, if we're going to do it, that kind of thing, my suggestion is that it's bringing the classic into the modern era. And I've seen that done. I've seen where you bring craftspeople in for demonstration work and food and stuff like that. I've seen that work. So there are ways we can do it so that it's not kitsch and it's not fake to who we are and trying to be something else, because that can get scary. And if you've never noticed, the Williamsburg Farmers Market draws almost as many people as Williamsburg itself every Sunday.
All right, Paul, I'll follow up with you after this and we'll talk it through, because I just think that's an alternative to events that would still make the tourism experience positive.
I think it rocks. I think if it's done right, it's really awesome.
Well, thanks for your support. I'll follow up with you.
And I assume you can see the chats going on, Carolyn, because there's some other ideas popping up there for your purview. All right,
Yes,
Jeff.
they look good. I'll make.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Moving on. Next item is the COVID-19 latest update. Seems like something that we've been touching on throughout the meeting, but is there something more specific that anyone would like to add to that? All right. No? Cassandra?
I was just wondering, with Guanella Pass opening on Thursday, is there any way for us to get some reporters up in the county to get us some publicity on the news stations? Maybe, visit Cooper's on the Creek or the brewery, or, talk about what things look like up here. I don't know about you, but I've been really frustrated with the news lately that they're just covering doom and gloom, and they don't really cover like what's really happening, what people are really doing, what does it look like, how do you go to a restaurant with a mask on, and sit down and have dining. I mean, I think that there's a Fox 31 reporter that lives in Idaho Springs, but if we could use, and if you want me to try to put out some feelers, but I know you have a Slate Communications team, but I would really encourage, even if it's not tomorrow, maybe it's this weekend, try to get a reporter up into Georgetown and just do, maybe have Parker sitting at the brewery or do something where we're just putting, your town out there. Again, I think it would be incredibly beneficial, especially now that things are starting to slowly open. And like I say, if the orders go through as they're supposed to, we're going to see, the train opening, the rafting starting, the some of the adventure parks opening, the visitor center is opening or is open, but I mean, summer's starting to, actually show its face. And so I think it would be a good platform for us to stand on if, something like that is possible.
I think it's I'll weigh in here. I think it's in my mind, it's a broader issue. I think the county, and this isn't pointing fingers or placing blame or anything. The county, in my opinion, took a material hit when it closed the county roads. Not that it shouldn't have closed the county roads, but based upon the negative publicity it got from a near county to Denver, and having people confused about it. And the first thing when they think of Clear Creek County is they shut me out. It's just a negative. It's just marketing. They'll come back. They'll be happy and everything. But I would also be concerned that this may go against the spirit of opening the pass safely, and letting. I guess the question is, do we want to first let water find its own level with having the pass and everything get back open with the state order and see how it goes? Or do we really want to actively work to put a reporter up on the pass and say, yeah, open for business, and have it potentially have a bad effect on it? So I'm just throwing that out there. And I think you're bringing up good points, Cassandra, but I don't know if that goes against what we kind of just agreed to. I don't know, anyone else got it?
Well, and I'll just add too that I am stuck also, being active for trying to market and promote our county and get people here. That first, light at the end of the tunnel that I see, obviously I want to go and jump on it. So if I'm being too aggressive, I apologize. These are just ideas to throw out at you, but thank you.
I like the idea of the organic portion of that campaign, the bear coming out of hibernation slowly, sort of the situation, since we're in nature, sort of a gig, rather than bringing the news up here, but bringing the Parker pictures into it, putting Parker around places. The offline stuff that you're doing right now, building that website that you're, the website improvements.
Yeah.
To show
we're going to be doing something here.
What's really happening on the ground, rather than
we're looking through the information.
That we're just doing stuff.
DDP
I think that part of that slowly awakening is better, because I will be honest with you,
that they actually put forward.
Being open for a week and as
looking
Steve
through it
said, we're just trying to see where water's going, because
the governor said
it's
something,
really
but then it's like,
challenging to
there's
find
nothing with
this.
it,
It's been very stressful and very challenging
but they did put out
to
something
find
yesterday, so
the balance between
you're not on mute.
please come here, please do something, and let's do this safely, and without it being you're walking into a world of rules, which is what we have right now. And how do we balance that? Because we want to make sure we have the right guest and the one who really wants to be with us. And I think the organic part of it, or the social media, the slight advertising, the soft part before we get into news, I think that'll bring earned media in the end. If we do that right, I think then we'll get the news people up here. If that made sense.
It made perfect sense to me, and I think we go in this direction, and unless anyone objects, let's again, I give both Carolyn and Cassandra gold medals for trying to get out of this and do their jobs. That's what they're here for, and I think we're going to get there where you're going. So
I do want to make one point about going along the lines of news coverage, in regards to the negative opinions that we got from road closing. I do think that people also have short memories, and anything that we can do to put the road closing behind us with a mass message would probably go a long way in righting that ship in the minds of those people.
I know there was some talk about another cleanup day whenever we can get that going, and having Parker push that. I feel like that'd be some, positive PR for the town.
Yeah, the cleanup day is Saturday, June 13th, and I have a flyer if you'd like that with the info.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't aware that one was scheduled. I heard, I think it was Katie and Dustin just kind of kicking around the idea, and I didn't know that they had firmed anything up. Or maybe someone else is organizing that, I don't know.
Yeah, the Parks and Rec Commission organizes it annually.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if you want to send it my way, I'll send it, and hopefully Dustin can push it.
Yeah, I'll do that for you.
Thanks.
Okay. Anyone else? Moving on.
We're running out of time. Let's move on.
Yeah, moving on. Food trucks. Anyone have anything to say about food trucks?
I do have something for the group, is that Luchas, the owners of, or the people that run Luchas, I don't know what their official status is, whether managers or owners. They have brought the idea forward of operating their business out of food truck while their business is getting rebuilt inside the building. Our food truck ordinance within Georgetown is obviously very limited, has very limited regarding food trucks. Now, it is something that we could change the ordinance, or we could change it just for specifically Luchas as a possibility, or even if that's really not a route to go. I haven't had an additional conversation with them because they were working to get a commercial kitchen space. I'm trying to work with the railroad, and they were looking into the blue sky space as far as commercial kitchen, but still serve out. They don't want to serve out of the blue sky. They'd rather have it near their location and work behind the restaurant at Luchas. But that's what their initial idea was after the fire, to work with it. But I didn't know, just want to get I don't have a formal proposal for you or anything else. I just wanted to get a general response from the Business Promotions Commission regarding the food truck ordinance overall. Right now, it's very limited. It's for special events only. It's then approved by the Business Promotions, although there's a caveat to that now. But this situation with Luchas kind of opens up, to me at least, a discussion regarding food trucks in general.
Well, I guess I would want to, if we can, bifurcate the discussion between what we had already spent a lot of time and energy on and coming up with our food truck ordinance. And I would not be in favor of changing that. The question is, can we discuss Luchas as an exception given the tragic event that happened at their establishment?
I think they need to be able to do what they want to do. Seriously, if there's maybe in a different climate, we could pull that ordinance again and come back with a more concise idea of what we should do, but they need to be able to operate. So town should make if it needs to just be that they get an exception, then we deal with the ordinance later. But we've all already had a really hard time, and then they just had the most insult to injury that I could imagine. And as an operator, if I was in their position, I would be devastated if Georgetown or Business Promotion said we couldn't have a food truck in the parking lot while we were trying to rebuild our business.
So I'm sorry, Jan, I'll call on you, but can we make an exception without changing our ordinance?
Yeah, I think we can, and especially with and I don't like using it because I think all of governments are going way too much over into its executive order, and we just, make it happen. But there is a route that it can be done that way now, Steve. So,
Jan, did you have something? You have to unmute.
Yeah. I just wanted to real quickly throw out the idea, if we are going to be able to close 6th Street to a pedestrian mall, could the food truck be on that side of their business? Just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, that could be another part of it, might be. Yeah.
And then, so I think we just agreed on I think you got the guidance you need on the food truck. What's the update on closing 6th Street?
6th Street, talked with various business owners, have various responses. It's not unanimous, of course. I'm going to bring it to the Board of Selectmen next Tuesday. As far as closing 6th Street, they are generally in favor of it, but it's not unanimous at the Board of Selectmen either. But I think it's worth a try to do that, and that's what it would be going forward, and blocking it, still leaving the north-south streets open regarding Argentine, Rose, possibly Taos, obviously up here towards Kevin's and Town Hall's place, but as far as the barriers and everything else and making it a pedestrian, I think it's going to be a possibility. I would look at putting it in place the week of June 22nd, because we're going to have, I just got notified or worked with the paving company at the end of last week and the beginning of this week, and they're finally going to be up here. They're here today. I just got a phone call while we're in this meeting. They're doing the patch between 6th and 7th, and they're going to come back up the week of 15th, June 15th, to do the full mill and overlay from the Fork up to 6th Street. And then lights will be done at the end of the month, but the paving will all be done. I wouldn't want to close 6th Street before then, and that gives us a little to set it up, and then it can be there for, I've had some people say, well, you could have it for a month or two. And, to me, I can see it through the summer and fall.
Did I lose my internet or did we lose Kent?
No, we lost Kent.
Okay.
Kent's a little stiff right now. Oh, there he is. You dropped out. Your last part dropped off, Kent.
Some people think this would be, my internet connection is unstable. Whether it occurs for a month or 2 months or 3 months, it can be changed as quickly taken out as it's put in. It's not something permanent. So I'll try to limit my comments so you guys can talk.
I think it would be interesting to hear what the Board of Selectmen have to say. I think there's two sides of it. Closing it, where you close it, do people just bypass downtown altogether if it's closed? Do they when they come off the train, do they immediately take a left and get out of town because they can't drive through downtown? I know there's a lot of varying opinions, but it sounds to me like it should be vetted out by the Board of Selectmen as a first step. And then more importantly, it also allows us to see what happens. I mean, the intent of this is to gain social distancing on sidewalks so that people can spread out and allow businesses to expand their operations. But the reality is, not knowing who the business owners are that object, if they're objecting, they don't really mind losing potential seats in front of it. And with the exception of the new coffee shop that went in, and Happy Cooker wouldn't be affected, because I don't think you'd be closed unless, would that be part of the plan to close in front of the Hotel Des Prix and that block between Taos and, what is it, Main Street or something? Or
Yeah, that'd be between Taos and Griffith.
okay. But the intent of closing is to promote social distancing. So I guess what's the case for not closing if it supports better health and a better safe opening, right? I think that's the crux of the issue, and that's really the vote, in my opinion.
The two minor things that have been raised as objections is the coming off the train, seeing that it's closed when you come down to 6th and Brownell. And, are you going to continue or try to get around to be able to stop in downtown? And then the second one.
I would just say, though, in quick response, you can handle that with signage. You can create a nice looking professional sign right at the end of the street that says, please park your car and come to our walking mall, or whatever we want to say.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's closed. I would say it's, open to pedestrian traffic. It's all in how it's presented. Yes, signage. and a good message, positive message.
The other minor, well, it's an objection, is the losing of the 5 to 10 parking spaces along 6th Street itself. And, you know, one restaurant owner mentioned that regarding the parking spaces because it's close to where they're at. So that was one objection, but the cars on 6th Street do provide an additional closed-in feeling, you know, for 6th Street. So the idea, like you stated, Kevin, as far as it's open to pedestrians, there's more space, you know, is really what's trying to get across. So, and to try.
Well, and again, yeah, and I it's a trial, and again, it's just hard to fathom 5 parking spaces being an issue when our businesses have had to lose 90% or plus or minus of its revenue for 2 straight months. I mean, we want, we got to keep moving forward, and we also have to be cognizant of what Idaho Springs has got on the table, and we can't afford to just not conform to. It seems to me that if we're a Victorian town, and you know, we want people walking around, you know, why do you want the cars with the boom boxes playing really loud trying to get to the pass, driving perhaps too fast to ruin that whole ambiance? And we're talking about one block, and I get it, but you know, the brewery always has had more people than people could park right across the street from the brewery. And my attitude has always been, I'd rather be looking out at the views we have and make people walk a little bit versus looking out into an asphalt parking lot and seeing, you know, Joe's mechanic truck and someone else just, you know, I think I said enough. So.
Well, Rose would still be open so that people can still get to the pass, and also the truck route is still open. So, and Argentine needs to be still open for the county building and to get everybody to and from the county building and the courts and et cetera. So that's, it's really just the east-west portion of 6th Street that would be closed. And I think in the end, I think Board of Selectmen would be in favor of it. I just don't know if it's going to be everyone for it. So,
but that becomes a vote then, Ken? Is that
yeah
how the procedure works? Okay.
I was just asking whether signs could be added to direct people to parking. Is that possible?
Yeah. It definitely have to be included, yeah.
And nice signs, not, you know, cardboard signs with, you know.
Handwritten marker.
Just a finger.
Pass that way.
Kevin?
One thing that I think we need to deal with if we're going to send people to these parking lots next to the museum is we have to deal with the residents in downtown parking in the public parking lot. It's intended for visitors, not for residents. And so that needs to be dealt with as soon as possible, because if those spaces are getting more and more precious, but a lot of folks who live downtown abuse that lot by thinking, hey, I'm the public, I'm going to park there. They talk themselves into it, and it's not resident parking. Unfortunately, they've rented apartments that don't have parking. They have to fend for themselves, I think, at this point. So Ken, if we can get on that.
I did talk with an owner yesterday of the parking lots behind 6th Street Station and also the parking lot that's next to Town Hall. Not the Excel lot, but the other vacant lot down towards 7th. And just as far as coordination. So
yeah. But I think the conversation needs to start now, because this is all rolling towards us real fast.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're running long on time here. Is there interest from the committee in extending time to expedite the remaining agenda items, or do we want to push those for the next meeting?
We started 15 minutes late, so I think we should try and keep them moving. because there's a few things that we need to, about, specifically 4th of July needs to get covered.
Yeah, let's keep going.
Okay. Moving on then. Argentine Street
well-
banners. I'm sorry, Steve.
No, go ahead.
Argentine Street banners.
I guess that'll be me. We don't have the budget to do the banners this year, and for a couple of reasons, so we won't even get into that. But a suggestion was made to take existing banners and spread them out more in order to connect to the new street lamps and to the historic commercial district, by maybe putting a banner on every other pole and removing unused arms and putting those in storage. And I think that's a great suggestion. However, there's a financial burden that then falls on Kent and the town, because he has to direct the personnel to do that. And so I don't know if they have the availability and he has the resources, but I do think that that's a great stopgap measure. Use what we have, spread it out a little bit more, and then revisit the banners next year.
Yes.
I think spreading banners out, it's a good idea if we can't put them all up. So if Kent can get it done, let's do it. Kent? Okay. Done
All
deal.
right. Sounds good.
Next item.
Next item, calendar of 2020 events, depending on COVID orders. First one up, obviously, is 4th of July, and alternative ideas. Anyone want to continue that? Amanda?
So unfortunately, I don't have a lot of amazing ideas on this, but I did want to update that because I researched this a lot last night, anticipating today's meeting, obviously. I haven't heard, and maybe Jen, have you heard it? Is the community center planning the barbecue, or have they made any decisions? Or
I
Kent?
haven't heard. Have you, Kent?
I don't think the barbecue can happen. So in any way, shape, or form,
Yeah.
similar to the comments made earlier.
I texted Mark and I haven't heard back from him yet.
And Mark and I talked yesterday, and the one possibility might, and someone here suggested it earlier, and you may have suggested it, Amanda. It's, to me, that can we do something on 4th of July? And can it be a car parade where you're not inviting people to do that, but just the locals to be involved in the car parade? Because it's such a community thing. It's such a community builder for this town. And if we could have, even if we just start at the lake, drive through town, run by each other, similar to what the Lucha's fundraiser did a week, that they had, and they picked up stuff at Strauss. Doesn't have to pick up anything. We just drive by each other and do something with that. We drive from one end of town to the other end of town and then drive back. And we drive by each other. Would that be acceptable? I don't know.
Mark Reynolds just texted me actually right now and said, no barbecue in the park, trying to work on some type of parade. So I think we're all on the same page on that. And yes, like George, to your point in the chat, like the graduation parade. Municipalities, Aspen, Estes, Vale, Breckenridge, and Grand Lake hasn't decided yet, but they've all canceled. Blackhawk is still deciding. I was wondering what the status of is. Idaho Springs canceled their fireworks yet? They did. Okay. So I'm kind of stumped on. I like the idea of a parade, and I know that I was in charge of being the chair for the 4th of July committee, and I certainly have not intentionally dropped the ball, but I've kind of been waiting. It's been a lot of sitting around and waiting to be like, what's going to be allowed? And it's, the decisions are kind of fluid and in the moment. So I will, take responsibility for having a weekly meeting with that subcommittee that was Kyle, Kayla and anybody else who wants to join to try and make some type of a plan, depending on what's allowed. But I would also anticipate that we, you know, obviously have to be flexible as a town and as a community and what that looks like. So I'm open to ideas and suggestions on what we can do, but I would anticipate that we're not having 4th of July events in their capacity that we're used to.
So in the meantime, what's the messaging on the website? Because I think we have to cancel the parade because the public may be using that to come, you know, as they have year over year from an outsider's perspective. But then do we have a separate, is there a way to have a separate communication to the locals to say we're still trying to do something as a local community? And that may be
Dan,
something.
your idea is really good too.
Yeah.
In the chat.
Yeah, so right now there's, you know, there's nothing specific. There's just the general outline of what, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. There's a general outline on what's typically done on the 4th of July. So I can add a message to the top saying this year it won't be held to the public, and something to the effect of plans for a local celebration are pending.
I think that's on the right track. I think you can still do things, but from a town perspective, everything's got to be kind of in a passive sense. You know, it's got to be things like Jan, you know, where people decorate their homes, or maybe we can set up signage where there's we have all kinds of photos from 4th of July's past, you know, or we have some sort of demonstration of 4th of July in Georgetown in some manner that the people can do on their own speed and their own time. That's not necessarily organized by the town, but something where people can come up, get the story of 4th of July, get the story of Georgetown, get the feeling. The holiday is not, you know, canceled by any means, so people are going to come. And I think that something along those lines would be more of fitting the spirit of the law, and also give something for people to come together and experience from a Georgetown point of view. Does that make sense?
I would, absolutely. And I think that's a really good idea. The other thing I would add though to that is on the subject of people coming, I don't know, what's your reservation status like over at the hotel right now, Justin?
We're still filling up. We're slowly coming back to life. I wouldn't say that we're getting overwhelmed by any means.
From the VRBOs that I work with, it sounds like most of them are now in that kind of getting early cancellations for the 4th. It's hard to know. It's the uncertainty of COVID is unpleasant. It makes it very difficult to plan things.
Yeah, but if we were to, you know, going back to Steve's point, what do we put out there? You know, what do we put on the website? What's the tone there? Is it can we still say we're doing something, but not necessarily from an organized standpoint from the town?
If we were to do something locally, how would that fit within the current? And I guess we should wait and see what the PHO says tomorrow, but how would that fit within the public health order and the notion of 10 or less that is currently, I mean, if we were in cars, like the graduation would be a good example, but that's the struggle.
So,
Paul?
I personally think we should cancel the parade to the outside. I just think that we should cancel 4th of July as an event for our town. But I've noticed that some other communities have been putting out social distance spacing, like in their parks and stuff. And, you know, like their big hoops that you can, have you seen this in other pictures of it? And I'm wondering if, because it's going to happen anyway, the town's going to be where everybody's itching. And I'm wondering if something locally, or the people that are coming anyway while they're here, if we all decorate our houses, but have those spacing set up both in Worland and Strauss, but in all three, Worland, Strauss, and City Park, Town Park. If we could set that kind of spacing system up to try to encourage people that if they go to use those spacing systems, and then there's still that feeling of sociability if they're coming without advertising to get people there. If they were just there, I think that might, I don't know the cost of that though, but I think that might be something that we could say, okay, we're gonna have a drive-through parade, silent parade to look at everything or whatever for our locals and then the people who happen to be here. And then that's just out there in the park so that people start to come to use the park to be near each other, but not, and you know, Strauss of course did for the beer and stuff. And if they're near the park, but not, you know what I'm saying, right? That they see it, but we're not advertising to bring thousands of people here. Does that make sense?
No, I hear what you're saying. Pretty much, you know, create the spirit of 4th of July, just from a community standpoint, more so from, you know, a town administration standpoint is the way I kind of see it.
Yeah.
You know, people are going to come. Let's make it open to them where they can go to the parks and hang out and have a nice picnic if they want to bring their own food, enjoy 4th of July in the mountains. I think we can still get people to come up here and do that, go to the shops, eat in the restaurants, and still get the crowd that we want without actually having an organized event that would go against guidelines.
So we were to create some type of and I'm using the word parade in a loose sense, but like a driving route where basically Rose Street was really well decorated and all the houses on Rose were really pretty, and maybe coming back into Taos on the historic district side and maybe had like even a contest to get locals to decorate their houses, and we could do like a judging of some sort, you know, and then using that as kind of the catalyst for people to come to town. And then if all the restaurants and businesses are open and we're still enforcing our appropriate social distancing measures, we capture a little bit of tax revenue. Is that like the direction that we want to take this?
Yeah. Well, don't we already also, is the state, I don't know if the statement for it, I missed the part that I was looking for it, but alcohol is, do we still have a moratorium in effect on, say if people were to bring their own, you know, BYOB to the park, if they want to do that, or the different parks? Because I know that Steve was talking about being able to use Strauss Park as an adjunct patio. And I think that might also help. I don't know, you know, I don't know a lot of people who are publicly drunk and getting in bar fights so far. So, you know, without saying, hey, booze is open, but saying, hey, if you take a beer to go from someplace or from Amanda, can you go somewhere and drink it?
So
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ken.
No, go ahead, Amanda.
Restaurants are still allowed to do to-go alcohol. That hasn't changed. So we can do alcohol to go. We can do alcohol via delivery. It is municipalities' decisions, as far as I understand it, on drinking in parks and things. Denver actually went the opposite direction and made it illegal because they didn't want people going to the parks and drinking. Like for jazz, like jazz at the park and stuff like that, or whatever they call that thing at City Park. I don't even think they're doing it this year anymore. But yes, people can come in, but it's been kind of fuzzy as to where people can drink. And so, I mean, but technically, no one can go to the parking lot of Cooper's and drink their beer. That's still not allowed. Now we can apply for a moratorium with town to put tables out there, but people can't like go drink in their car. But we have to put a label on everything. You guys have all seen them because we've been putting them on all of your stuff. I know I've given a lot of you guys to go alcohol. So you've seen my stickers and Steve stickers that we have to stick on everything.
Parks are still no-go regarding alcohol in the parks. There's specific ordinances regarding that. So,
is there anything we can do to help with that? Because I do think that is something that helps with restaurant promotion in town, and to help these businesses that are already suffering such huge losses in such small spaces, at least temporarily, to make it so that people can expand their experience out into the places that we have already set up for social distancing.
I need some help to bring that forward, Paul, but I really haven't had it brought forward so far. So But it could be a discussion topic, absolutely.
I would love that. And if offline you need anything from me to get people together, to get something going on, just tell me what I can do, and then I will do my portion of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I would second that. I mean, if there's some, I think it's, the same governor who shut us down for, 60 plus days is the same governor is advocating for this for good reasons. So I think it's worth the town absolutely considering. And so, anything I can do as well, Kat, let me know.
I would, go ahead, Paul.
I was going to say, Mr. Chair, should we make a motion to have the Promotions Commission draft a letter that we are in to the Board of Selectmen that this is something that we're backing as a group?
I think that's a great motion, and I would like to make sure we do it in the context of what I would still call safe reopening. It's spreading people around. It's having restaurants that have a indoor capacity limitation to be able to sell to go and allow people to enjoy the town in a safe manner. And I know there's a lot of public safety considerations. I just don't see something like this getting out of hand in Georgetown. We just don't have I've been open for 3 years, never had the big part, the kids and parties and drunks in my brewery. I know other establishments kind of do that, but that's typically at 12 o'clock midnight, and nothing good ever happens after 10 o'clock at night in the bar anyway. So this is like during the day, it's families, it's picnics, it's safe enjoyment when you can't really sit inside an establishment.
If we would like to, so we can get moving here, I'm willing to take on that letter. And what I would also propose is, I don't know if it's possible to get on the selectmen's agenda for Tuesday. I would be happy to compose that letter. And I would, if some of us want to go up in front of the Board of Selectmen at their next meeting and make that proposal, I'm happy to spearhead that. And then I would also, if we want to move this to a separate conversation or a separate meeting, because the 4th of July's got a lot of moving parts, I could do something next week, because I know everyone's got to get moving. We've been on it for a long time, but I think we have more to go over.
Yeah, if you want to draft a letter, that would be great. And I would highly encourage members of this commission, and if they can, to attend the selectmen meeting. Kevin?
I just want to point out, if anything should get out of hand, we have a system in place. We have a local police department, so we would just call on them. So I think there's a response if something should happen. It's already built in.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Are you guys talking about people bringing their own alcohol to the parks, or having the restaurants serve it in the parks?
That's a good question.
It's a good question. I mean, I think obviously our preference as business owners is that people buy it from us, but I don't think that the law is going to cooperate. I don't think we can say the alcohol has to be, I don't think there's going to be a statute that says the alcohol has to be purchased from a licensed business in Georgetown. I think that would go against the LED language, don't you, Steve?
Yeah.
Because there's no regs
I don't
on
know
that.
how you do that. I don't know how you manage that. The spirit of it is to buy to go and do it in the park along and eat your sandwich with your glass of wine or your craft beer, or your margarita from Lucha's, right? If that's what they're able to do in their food truck. So,
but then
again,
wouldn't
I
people just
think
bring
what
their
happens
own?
is if you can't, I don't know how you prevent that. I don't know how you manage that. I don't know how Randy, for example, would could enforce that. And I think maybe if we're able to do it, if the town agrees they should do it, you see what happens. And if Randy comes back and says there's been crazy parties and all of that, then maybe, the town needs to then pull it back.
The other piece of it though too is that we wouldn't necessarily want to, I mean, the liquor store also has a stake in this, and it would be rightful for consumers to go get a 6-pack of beer from Jerry. We can't exclude that. And so the regs as a whole, I don't think you could specify that the alcohol is purchased in Georgetown. It would only be the consumption of the alcohol. So that is, I mean, that's a consideration, but the flip side would be if we advertised it and promoted it as a town, like these are the places when you get here, you can get alcohol. Yeah, there's going to be people that are like buying a 12-pack of Coors at Safeway in Idaho Springs on their way up here. But maybe people will come into town and be like, oh, I didn't pack a cooler, honey. Let's go to that liquor store. Let's go to the brewery and grab beer. But we can't change oh, Kevin, I just saw what you typed there. Yeah, exactly. No, the regs are not going to give themselves to the Georgetown specifics. I'm sorry, I keep touching.
Well, and one more.
You're a terrible idea.
One more thing. Sorry, Amanda. One more thing. The police write a lot of tickets for alcohol at the lake.
Right.
So that's a factor I'm just throwing out there to consider.
Well, I think that
I would go ahead.
Is it person who wants to promote the town all the time? I honestly think that unless somebody is publicly drunk and disorderly, I think that those tickets or driving afterwards, I think those tickets at the lake are actually anti-promotional for the town. I think they leave a bad taste in people's mouths about our town. So I don't, that in general, the parks, especially up here, but down there, in general, people tend to be pretty good around Georgetown, and they are in places that are heavily policed by those of us who are Gladys Kravitzes in town. So I think that actually helps with it to keep it under control a little bit. But those tickets, I know they're revenue, but I think they're counterproductive to promoting the town, unless public drunkenness.
Well, and just to let you know, I don't view this as it'll still be you're going uphill with this issue anyway. So it'll take some discussion. So just to let you know.
What does next Wednesday look like for
Steve, you're
everyone to
muted.
continue the conversation about the 4th? Okay.
Steve, you're muted.
I'm unmuting to tell Steve he's muted.
Oh, hello. Do we have to make an official motion to have Amanda draft? I recommend, it sounds like we're all in favor of it. We don't know what the implementation is, execution is, but we should just say we're in support of this whole concept. And like Kent said, we need people to start carrying it uphill, and we'll see if we can sum it. So do we have a motion?
I move that we draft a letter in favor of temporarily removing the ban of drinking in public parks to encourage the restaurants and local establishments to be able to increase their dining room sizes and therefore increase their business thereby. Doesn't have to be written like that, please.
Second that motion.
All right, all in favor, everyone?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
I think that was everyone, so motion passed. All right, moving on. Steve, did you have something? I wasn't sure if you were muted again.
No, mean, I don't know what's, in the sake of time, I did throw on the agenda the Cobra. There's a national organization coming to town that will be driving through town, staying 2 nights in September. So I don't want to have a full discussion on it, but it's a really cool thing. It's the Cobra organization that actually provided cars to the movie Ferrari versus Ford, if anybody watched that on Netflix during the quarantine. It's a great movie, especially if you're a car guy. They will have a truck that's pulling the actual cars that were in the movie. So it'll be a fun event. They're driving all over the country. They're going through Ouray. They're going through other parts of Colorado, but they do want to spend 2 days in Georgetown. They only have about 20 cars, and but they're here for 2 reasons: to spend 2 nights in Georgetown, because when they were here a couple of years ago, they had a great experience, and then they're going to have a national convention in 2 years to recognize their 40th anniversary as a club. And the other reason that they're coming to Georgetown is to evaluate the town from the perspective of, do we want to have a main event in 2 years in Georgetown? So it's very important. Obviously, we don't know what gathering requirements are. They're not looking for anything special, but I'll keep working directly with them. And as we move forward, Carolyn, I'll certainly include you in on the planning, on whatever planning needs.
Thanks, Steve.
Are there tentative dates at this point?
Yeah, September, they would be driving in on September late in the evening. September 2nd, they would be in town September 3rd, and they would be leaving very early in the morning, September 4th. So September 3rd, for all intents and purposes, is the date for these cars.
So we'd already talked about promoting for the autumn and for leaf season as the potential goal, haven't we? So I think that, doesn't that sound like it's a good start for promoting something in September?
I would think so. I would think we'd put it on the calendar, because they did say they're coming, and they're not asking for anything special. They said if we can close off 6th Street, that'll be great, but it's not necessary. We told them we may not be able to, because it may be closed for pedestrian use only. I'm sorry, I keep using the closed word. I'll start training myself. And then, but they seem like a very amenable group to working with the town. So I think it's a safe bet to put them on the calendar. And Carolyn, I can get you the specific information so you can coordinate with Kyle correctly and have the right.
All right, sounds good. Do we want to promote this beyond Georgetown? Is that what you're thinking?
I would say we promote it on the website as a calendar event, and then as time goes on, we decide how big we want to potentially make it, depending upon what they in turn want to do. So,
sounds good.
but again, having the movie cars would create a lot of buzz for auto enthusiasts. So.
All right, sounds great. Anyone else have anything to say along that?
Are we still doing COVID regarding events? Is that where we're in?
We've gone to the Cobra event. Steve, update.
Okay, I thought that was part of the last part, because we have mountain jams and we voted on doing it and it's being done. And I don't know.
Does Mountain Jams really? I'm in favor of doing it, because basically it's accommodating people who are already in town. Right. Unless Paul, excuse my ignorance, but does it tend to attract a lot of people in from outside?
It's not always been that great. It's depended. There have been certain years where Tim wasn't advertising really well last year, but there have been years when Tim advertises really well and we do get a draw for specific bands. What we can do though is limit the advertising level and just show it on our calendar as something that happens to be happening. and then do as much social distancing as we can. So it's more like a busker situation than it is an actual concert situation, and inviting and making it a big advertising outreach to the outside. So we don't look for earned media. We're not looking for doing press releases and things like that. And I think that might be the better method of doing it if you want to continue with it. I just need a quick answer because I want to give you the dates really quickly. If anybody has paper, there'll be the 11th of July, 25th of July, 8th of August, 22nd of August, and he's trying for the third Saturday in September if possible. If he has enough money, he's looking to, do cheaper with the bands because everybody's working for less money right now. And I think that if we don't do a bunch of posters and don't do a bunch of outside advertising, we can save the revenue, but we can also then stay within the guidelines unless they change, and then we can pivot to a bigger advertising program.
I'm in favor of doing it just as you've outlined, Paul. I don't know if anyone else has got a.
I'm also in favor. I think that's a good idea, the way it's being done.
Thanks.
Do you
All right,
want
we'll move forward.
Do you want it promoted in the Georgetown Facebook groups?
I'm really nervous about even social media promoting of it. I think that if it went on a calendar is one thing, but to do any kind of scale promotion goes against the POH. And if I'm using the right acronym, anyway. But at this point, we just put it in the calendar and just let it be organic. And then if PHO thinks Kevin always has those things for me. And then if the rules change again, then we'll start moving forward with social and with all the rest. And then we'll have you help us with that, you and Cass can get on the parts that you get on for us. And when you're so good at that, and then we can move to larger advertising, an actual advertising campaign for it.
Yeah.
So can I just add really quick? I was going to fearlessly type this, but I think it's easier just to talk about it. I think it might be fun to kind of spin the marketing on it a little bit for the calendar and say, enjoy live music as you peruse the shops and restaurants in our quaint community as we adhere to social distancing measures, and just, let these sounds be a warm welcome, or something like that. But some kind of way to spin it, I think, might be, so that it's not a concert, that it's just live music while you shop and dine and whatever. What do you think?
I think that's brills, to use the modern parlance. I think it's awesome.
What was that? What?
I said I think it's brills. It's brill.
That kind of goes
Okay,
along with
I think
what,
it sounds like that's the direction.
yeah, that goes along with what I was also going to suggest on all of these events as being more for our town and our merchants and our locals and whoever else is here in town. But like Paul does such a great job with bringing restaurants and he was nice enough to even bring the jerky shop in to his virtual events, to really showcase our local people. I mean, the restaurants are doing a great job recovering. The brewery's doing a great job of opening and recovering. And there are some small businesses that also need that love shown. And if we can get locals to show that love, that would be awesome.
Okay.
All right. Jan, can you give us your HGI report real quick?
I just put it in the chat section real quick, so you guys can read it there.
All right, great.
Can I give you an off the record thing? Since I do anyway.
Me?
The event this weekend for the Georgetown Heritage Center, which is Amy's going to be with us, and we have Sophia, who's a brilliant musician, but our proceeds, we're doing a tiered proceeds. We're also working with Cooper's this weekend again for the, we're working with somebody
yes.
this weekend again for the cocktail hour
I was
portion
like-
of it.
I'm like,
I
it's
thought we
Troyes.
were, so I'm sorry. I better talk
No.
to my coordinator.
It's
But
okay.
the bigger thing that I wanted to bring up was that we are, that the proceeds are tiered this weekend, so they go larger. Last week, we were able to give a few $100s to the police department for Georgetown to thank them for their hard work. This week, we are supporting Lucha and their rebuild, and we're tiering it. So normally it's 20%. If we we'll advertise the percentages. If we hit above, I think $1,000, we'll go to 30%, and then over, I think at 2, we go to 50%. So the more that we get, the more they get, so that we're paying for our program, but at the same time we are giving money to this group. So just remember that, and if it is going directly to Lucha to help them with their rebuild and reopening. So if we could keep, we'll be doing a lot for multiple organizations as we continue forward with it, and not for Cooper's.
Sorry, I'm afraid to unmute. My kids are fighting over the toilet in the background, so just ignore the chaos behind me.
All right, thank you, Paul. Last 2 agenda items, John Denver Days Planning and Bighorn Sheep Festival. Does anybody have anything they'd like to update us with?
I have nothing for John Denver's Georgetown.
That's me again. The Sheep Festival is moving forward at this moment. A lot of the people that are on this group are involved in it, and we'll get Carol involved to be with the promotions portion of it. I'm sorry that you've missed those. We haven't put you in those meetings yet. They're meeting monthly at this point, and we're just moving forward as if nothing's going to change for November. We are ready to gear down if we have to, and we're looking at September probably as the trigger pull, or the point of if we have to cancel or not. But we're moving forward with basically the same event that we had last year. Hopefully, I'm sure there's going to be some kind of distancing and other rules put in place, and if we're still if we don't beat the second curve or the second wave. But if we do, we're in November, it's cold, it's changing, and hopefully life will be returning to normal by then. So we're moving forward with that.
All right, sounds good. Well, I believe we've made it to the end here. Approval of minutes. Does anybody have any objection to the minutes?
And we have 2 sets of minutes. We have the May 6th and then the special meeting for May 20th. Did everybody get those? You're muted,
Oh, you have to
Paul.
unmute.
I move that we approve the minutes for both meetings. I just realized it's 11.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved. All right. That's it. I would like to thank everyone for staying long, and thank you very much to George and Cass for sitting in with us. We really appreciate it. Please come back anytime. Other than that, does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
And a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it. Have a great
Sorry,
day.
guys. Thanks for putting up with my sidekicks today.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
However,
Amanda, did you want to chat today, or do you want to just connect another time?
just call me. You have my cell.
I believe so.
Here, I'll type it in the chat really fast.
Okay.
No, sweetheart. Just give me a shout and we'll talk.
Okay.
Cool. Bye, everybody. Say